Good afternoon, everyone online. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. We don't have quorum yet, but so we'll stay unmuted. I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, recording actually already started. And hopefully we get, Matthew, hopefully we get the rest of our commissioners here and we can get started. The two Stephen and Sharon.
Yeah. I always print it out. Wait, just so I don't have to cook. Get too old to do that.
You're good. I'm still are waiting on the stuff out. You're good. A little water.
I'm good. That was hard.
Kind of hard.
Yeah, like they had any mics. Luckily, my school's not that.
Right. The speed of that person is going like. Yeah. Again, for everybody online, just waiting for our fourth and final commissioner, and then we can get started.
How's it go?
Good.
Yeah.
School's back in the swing of things.
What school are you?
NPA.
Okay.
Yeah, right down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going into year 8, I'm like, all right, this is week 3. I know exactly how the kids are going to be. They have matched all expectations. Tired and grumpy.
The AU starts next September.
This computer, I can get it added. So let's see if I can pull Commissioner Stepos. Depends on the edge. Just wait. Okay.
Okay, I will do, okay. He can join and he's on his way, so let me get the link to him.
For those online, hopefully just a couple more minute pause. Thank you, Josh, for joining temporarily online. All right. Ready, sir?
Sorry, yeah, I'm on my way there. I couldn't find the link to join, so my fault.
No worries. Thanks, Josh. So with that, welcome everybody to the August meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. And officially call it to order and move on with roll call. So I am here. We'll see Commissioner Kerr. Hey, you're here. Commissioner Heath.
I'm here. Sorry about that. I'm trying to unmute.
Commissioner Layden. Look to have. Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Stackhouse.
Here.
And it doesn't look like we have Councilmember Harris on board today either.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks everybody for attending and allowing us to have a quorum. We'll move on to the land acknowledgement. So the Flagstaff Parks and Recreation Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home. Very good. Hope everyone's had a chance to review the June meeting minutes since we did not have a July meeting. And if you have anything to add to those or question, if not, we can seek a motion to approve.
I motion to approve.
Mr. Kerr has a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second. This is Sandy.
Great. All right, we have a second to approve. So all those in favor of approving the June 17 minutes, say aye. Aye.
I
Those, no one's opposed. So those are approved. Thank you much. Now we open this up to our public comment. Flagstaff, or this portion of the meeting is for items that are not on the agenda. The commission cannot act on items presented during the public participation of the agenda. The commission is prohibited by the open meeting law from discussing or considering the items until the item is officially placed on the agenda. If we have any public comments, please limit those comments to 5 minutes. Do we have any public comments at this point? Yeah. Once, going twice. Nope. All right. Sounds good. We'll move on to our first topic, acceptance of donation and site location. I believe this is in regards to a piece of art that artwork dedication. So I see Jan Weldon's on board.
Yep, as well as Corey Woodall. Corey, go ahead and you should be able to share your presentation too.
Okay, great. I'm gonna share my screen, hopefully. All right, do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So this work of art has been offered to the city of Flagstaff. The donor originally offered 4, and our public art committee selected this one. The artwork is currently untitled, but the artist would like to get the community involved in selecting a name for the work and having that as part of the dedication ceremony. So the status of this work right now, as I mentioned, BPAC approved this work as public art and approved for BAS staff to continue the donation process under Ordinance 2014-18. In June, Amy and Jana and myself reviewed potential sites around Flagstaff that were the artists had a preference for things in a natural setting. And then in August, just last week, BPAC approved the donation and its proposed location at Francis Short Pond per Ordinance 1418. So from that resolution, there are some certain criteria to consider when selecting a site for works that are donated. You can see that a couple of them are rather subjective, but one of the more substantial things that we can consider is multiple sites. And we took a look at a couple sites before settling on the pond. Here at Turquoise and Forest by the Foots Trail, Jana and I identified a spot that would be visible from the road as well as for people that are using that trail. Unfortunately, that was in an area of the open spaces that we could not build on. We also considered the Foots Trailhead at Fox Glen Park. That location already has a abstract sculpture nearby. And when we visited the Francis Short Pond, that seemed like the best site for this particular work. It's situated on the Foots Trail, and it is in a very nice natural setting. So this is what the actual location looks like, facing the pond. And this is just an idea of what that installation would look like. It's not exactly to scale, but that's the placement. And so at this pond, there is an inner loop that people use for fishing or to just have their quiet moments in the park. And this sculpture would not be on that inner trail. It would be on the outer one next to the Foots Park. And so that's a rough estimate of what that placement might look like from the inner loop. This spot was also a good choice, we felt, because it's already in partnership with BBB funds that funds our department, as well as the Parks and Recreation Department contributions. And just to give you an idea of what the sculpture installation looks like elsewhere, this is at the Prescott Valley Civic Center. And both the artists and the Arts Committee are excited to have this artist's work in a more natural setting. So the proposed scope of installation, we've already received that BPAC approval. We're looking to receive approval from this commission as well. Then we would blue stake the footprint of the sculpture pad. Pros would create that sculpture pad mid to late October. The artist would deliver the work to Pros, and Pros would install the work on the sculpture pad as well as a plaque. And then we'd have a dedication ceremony with the artist. So if you have any questions about this donation, I'm happy to answer them as best I can.
I have some questions. Is the artwork finished and in your possession at this point, or?
It is still in the artist's studio, but it is a complete work.
Okay. And looking at it, it looks like it's made out of steel, correct? And so it has some sharp edges. Are there any liability concerns about somebody climbing on that and injuring themselves? Or how do you handle that as part of our installation?
We believe that the work is tall enough. It's about 11 feet tall, that you would have to really get involved in climbing. It doesn't appeal as monkey bars or anything like that. And as far as the edges, I've seen the work, and if you gave enough force, you might be able to scratch yourself or something like that. But it's not sharp edges that just casually walking by would cause any damage.
Right. Okay. How big is the footing that you need in order to put that in?
You know, we're not 100% sure, but we'll work with Corey and Jana on that. We know that it'll obviously have to be the 36 inches for frost depth to
Right.
meet, and it's a small building permit to get with our building department. But not exactly sure the size of it just yet. I think that was gonna be next steps that this team was gonna work on once there's approval to accept this donation.
So did I hear, this is coming out of Prescott and coming here? Because
The artist is in Prescott,
the artist is in Prescott.
yes.
And so they're moving their art from Prescott to here.
It's a piece of art in their possession, and correct me where I'm wrong, Corey, that they're just looking to donate.
Correct.
And so then, how does it, because can any artist do this, or how does that work?
Did you hear that, Corey?
Yes, and maybe Jana can help chime in here. We haven't had too many donations recently, but per that ordinance, we review these materials with both committees to make sure that they feel that it's appropriate to have these works donated and installed.
And other committee being
The Beautification Public Art Committee.
someone that knows about art, unlike me, right? So someone that knows art has said, this is a thumbs up, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in a little bit. Hi, I'm Jenna Weldon, Beautification Arts and Sciences Program Manager. This is our first use of this statute, and I think along with pros, we had to kind of read it very carefully, and so a lot of the process of the site and everything is under the review of of the Parks and Rec Commission and the Parks and Rec staff, as far as the placement, which is why they're doing the footing and all that and choosing the location as an appropriate site. But it gives BPAC, with the Beautification and Public Art, the role of, is it art? Will we accept it in the collection? And do we think that it's appropriate? And so BPAC has weighed in on a yes, and that's our part of the ordinance, and also just assisting in any way to make sure that it goes smoothly for Parks and Rec and the artist. We'll do all the liaisoning with the artist. But this is new. We all had to read the statute again.
Felt like Parsons said the thing that is our part of it. Is it safe? Is it, commensurate with where it is? But and I apologize, I was a little late to the meeting. I just want to make sure that somebody that knew about art was saying yes, and beautification says yes before because our part is more just safe. Does it work?
Well, they want our opinion on the location more than anything, so I don't know if anybody has anything to offer as far as location. I think it's fine. I think it looks good. And we look good where you're proposing it, so I don't have an issue with it. So
I think it would be best if we had a motion.
Yeah.
I do. I'll put out a motion to approve the location for BPAC's recommendation. All those in favor?
Names.
I'll say so. So we have a second. So with that, all those in favor of the motion to approve the location of the proposed artwork? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Not like we have any negatives, so that motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
for
you
your
very
time,
much.
Listeners.
Lori and Jenna.
That looked nice.
Let me share back the agenda. So the next item, Chairperson Parsons is number 7.
July is Parks and Recreation Month.
It was, yeah, it was.
It was.
Um,
You gotta touch a truck.
we did. So we have our newest coworker in pros, Kyle Gambino, over on Rebecca's right. He is the new recreation supervisor here at the Aquaplex facility. So we're taking this opportunity. We'll have him come back to introduce himself in greater detail, but we wanted to introduce Kyle. And he has graciously accepted the ability to talk about what we did just the month of July for Parks and Recreation Month.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, for everyone who doesn't know me, my name is Kyle Gambino. As Amy said, I just started as the recreation supervisor here at the Aquaplex. This is my 7th week, so still learning and growing and enjoying the facility. But yeah, I got a couple things to touch on for Parks and Recreation Month. Starting with Hal Jensen Rec Center, we did do the Touch a Truck. It was a huge success. They had over 700 people in attendance. So that was a very successful event for the month. Jake Lively had their 3rd annual Mountain Mashup Tournament. They had 38 participants and they played a whole list of things, including an air hockey tournament, things of that nature. Jay Lively's staff teamed with the Hal Jensen staff to provide a new program this year, which was the Youth Summer Sports Camp. That was a single-week program with a availability of 20 enrollments, and they had 19. So they were pretty successful in getting that program up and running. The Joyce C. Montoya Community and Senior Center hosted its open house on the 20th of July. They had about 50 new patrons who had never visited the facility come for the open house. So I think that's pretty successful. And they said that they've had an increase in their class numbers since then. So some new members coming in, some new people checking out classes and seeing how they like the center. And here at the Aquaplex, we held a community carnival event. Our staff provided a lot of different activities, including face painting, balloon animals. We had a massive obstacle course in the gymnasium from Party City. That was a huge success, along with stuff in the aquatic center. And our local tap dancing class did a performance in here for all the kids, which was pretty cool. They had over 250 attendees for that event. So another really successful event for the Aquaplex. And giving a huge shout out to one of our staff members, Emily, who made over 100 balloon animals all on her own because she couldn't figure out how to train anybody else to do it. So Emily did it all day. So yeah, that was our month in a nutshell at each center. Looking forward to doing a lot more events for the centers in the future.
Touch a Truck, how many years have you guys done that now? A lot.
A lot.
As long as I can remember.
Yeah,
Is 700, like comparatively to last year's, up a lot.
That's the largest.
it seems like the largest we've ever had. Yeah. Yeah, which is impressive. Yeah, it was, I think it was also a really nice day. It wasn't super hot yet to be on pavement in a parking lot, but yeah.
Yeah, whenever you see an increase like that, I just was curious. if
Yeah.
You guys did anything different that day, but it was just the weather.
They moved their event up, so it started much earlier in the morning, and then extended through its regular time, and then I think incorporated a food truck or two as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then its location changed.
Cool. And then the Josie Montoya, that membership, is that a membership drive, that open house, or is that just?
It was just an open house to come to invite all community members to see.
Purpose is to try to get new people or?
Yeah, and it's not membership based. You
That's
can,
what my next question was. Gonna be.
right. The Aquaplex is the only membership based recreation center. There are fitness memberships that can be purchased at both Hal Jensen and Josie. With those smaller fitness centers or workout rooms. But yeah, it was more just of an open house of come check out all the things that occur at that particular rec center.
Cool, great. Any other commissioners have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Don.
Put him on the spot. It was a little test.
All right, on to a big topic, the Fox Glen Park basketball courts maintenance discussion.
I have that presentation to share for you too, Gino.
Thank you.
Yours.
All right, so we're talking about the basketball court maintenance, as Amy bring the presentation up, I want to start kind of an overview of what we have in our inventory, how we differentiate, recreational court with an actual sports court. Talk about some things we look for in our daily maintenance, now look at things we're looking to improve, and we kind of opened up a little discussion on more site specific, maybe Fox Glen, which kind of prompted this discussion. All right. So just basic court inventory, the full-size basketball courts. We have 6 full-size courts spread amongst those 4 parks you see listed there. The others, Bow Arrow, Cheshire, Fox Glen, Hal Jensen, McMillan, McPherson, Mobile Haven, Old Town, Smoke Rise, and Thorpe. They all have some of these smaller courts, just like varying dimensions. Essentially, I do want to say they're pretty random, some of the dimensions of these slabs. So there's slabs of concrete that were big enough to put a basketball hoop on, essentially. And a little perspective, probably the smallest one of these other courts would be one of the ones at Fox Glen is 24 feet by 24 feet. And out of these others, probably the biggest one would be Thorpe Park, which is roughly 80 feet by 50 feet. Put that in perspective, the full-size courts that were up there, they're all 100 feet by 50 feet, which is why the regulation size courts. If you go to the next slide, please, Amy. Then just some of the features which differentiate these courts, the full-size courts. Their regulation size for official play. Most of them have acrylic surfacing. As you can see, there's a picture of the Bushmaster courts in the top, and that is one of the other courts. That's the smaller pad at Fox Glen on the bottom right. The only one that's the exception to the acrylic surfacing would be the Boys and Girls Club. That actually has a sports tile system on it instead of the acrylic, which is a snap together rubberized tile that has the striping permanently embedded onto it. Like I said, they're fully striped. They do have perimeter fences around them. And the Bushmaster courts are lighted courts. So there is some lights at some of these full-size courts. The half courts, which we'll call the half courts and smaller, like I said, vary in sizes. None of them meet regulation size, which is a struggle. Like I said, some of those 24 by 24, 80 by 52, they're really random, which is why they're not fully striped for regulation play. There's typically no perimeter fencing around these sites because most of them are tucked away far from the road, like internal to some of these parks. The exception, which is something we addressed last year with our operating capital, if you remember, was McMillan Mesa. That court, we did install a backstop fence on that just because of close proximity to the road. And we're having a lot of issues with kind of balls bouncing into traffic. It was an unsafe situation. So that's kind of how we handled that one. If you go to the next slide, please, Amy. Just some of the typical maintenance activities and some of the things we're looking for. We're out in the parks, obviously debris removal, making sure we're loading cinders and debris off the court, picking up trash. Surfacing inspection, which is basically inspection of the concrete surfacing itself. You can see the top left picture. If you can see, that's one of the courts at Fox Glen. It does have, some superficial, hairline cracking in the pad. It's not significantly undermined. It's not affecting play at this time. And it's actually in pretty good condition considering it's roughly 25 years old. Backboard inspection and repair. These are all pictures of Fox Glen once again. They're very similar to most of what we see in our parks other than the fully striped regulation size courts.
So, you know, we're making sure things are loose and things are safe with the backboard themselves. Net replacement as needed. And we can talk a little bit more about the net replacement as we talk about some of the things we're looking to do in the future. But the nets do get shattered pretty regularly. We do use standardized nylon nets just so we keep the same inventory for all our parts. Hazard identification is always on our mind. Obviously, we're concentrating on mainly the play surface and directly off the play surface for immediate hazards that need to be addressed. One of the concerns brought up, as you can see in that bottom picture, is a pipe sleeve. Unknown what it was for in the past. It is about 6 feet off the playing surface. So it is something that's on our list to address. It's not deemed an immediate hazard. It's not off the sidewalk, not off the playing surface itself. The sites that do have lights, we do inspect the lights regularly, and then vegetation management, taking care of the weeds and beautifying the areas around these courts. Next, please, Amy. And so this is obviously that project we talked about, Mill and Mason on the bottom right. Just a new updated backboard that you see that picture. It's kind of a generic stock photo right there. But we are looking to start to standardize. Like I said, most of our backboards are in the same condition. They're all pretty old and faded. Once again, probably installed around the same time. So we are actually in the process of working with a vendor, similar backboard to what you see on top. We do have a couple in stock right now. We are working with the marketing team to import the Pros cargo on it before we deploy it into the field. Just kind of get our branding on these things as we put it out there. That's also going to help kind of maintain inventory for the nets that we have to keep in stock and things like that. Part of the problem with the nets, they do deteriorate pretty quickly. A lot of that is because essentially our backboards and rims are so old. Most of the attaching mechanisms that were built on them originally are no longer there. So we end up supplementing with zip ties and things that put like unneeded wear on the netting system that's out there. So that's the other thing as we're able to kind of standardize and put out some new backboards and rims, we should also have more success with the netting lasting much longer in these areas. We are always looking, we have talked about some striping opportunity at some of these courts that aren't the full size. And the reality is just the dimensions don't work with the parameters and the dimensions of the current slabs that are out there. Probably the smallest key you could put on the half court is probably a 25-foot key, which, Foxbone's a good example. It's a 24 by 24 court. We can't fit the key, let alone, even with the key, we also need to keep that 3-foot buffer roughly. So people are encouraged to, like, if the key went right to the end of the slab, we don't want to encourage that play off of the playing surface that's out there. So we are kind of constrained in how and if we could strike any of these smaller courts. Some of the ones that might be able to accommodate a half court striping, I don't have a site off the top of my head, but a good one could be Cheshire Park, where it's 60 by 35. We could possibly put that half court key, but the problem is with a hoop on both sides, the key is going to end up underneath the other hoop on the other side. So there's no way to stripe it to even have anything sort of official on these playing surfaces, unfortunately. And the last one, we do look at concrete repairs. We have done some replacements, in the last 5-6 years. I think the last one was probably McPherson. That was severely compromised at the time when we redid that whole concrete court. Some of the other ones we're looking, like I said, they're old, but they're all in pretty good condition. There's no glaring defects with the concrete areas. There's surface cracking, but that's what we're going to see up here. It's also impressive just to see that cracking being 25 years old. There's no other significant issues. So that's kind of a rundown of where we're at with our courts, what we look at. If the commissioners have any questions or want to talk a little bit more about Fox Glen or any site in particular.
How about the one that the guy came?
That's
Fox Glen. Yeah, and Amy, if you want to go back one slide, those are all pictures of Fox Glen. And he did have, obviously we talked about the backboards. We are looking through our regular budget as well as some operating capital for amenity upgrades. We've been concentrating on drinking fountains and things like that. We're almost standardized and where we need to be with those. So there is probably some funding available to buy some additional backboards.
I felt like the backboard wasn't an issue. It was more the like a fence around it? Am I thinking about
Well,
correct?
the citizen wanted a fence around it, maybe, to not have to chase a ball.
Sure. I think that was what he was bringing up with the fence, having to chase the ball, but our thought is, McMillan was the exception. I mean, there's no roadway. It's gonna run into a sidewalk, maybe that's 10 feet away, it's not heavily used. Just don't see like the true need for a perimeter fence around these areas, let alone that stuff.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, if you're gonna spend money on anything there, God knows I'm probably speaking out of turn and I'm probably not supposed to say any of this, but I feel like being a backstop just from somebody who played basketball my whole life. I would, I'd like that a heck of a lot more than the right thing or anything else, just so that the ball is. Sure, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I think that from what I recall, the public participant, yeah, it was the fencing, it was the striping, the net replacement, backboards,
I mentioned the cracking.
the cracking. And like you see from that, that's the most significant cracking I could find at Fox Glen. There's 2 different courts up there. It's not affecting play. It's the pad itself isn't undermined. It's in really good condition.
When you do get smaller cracks like that, or even a major crack to a certain extent, are there measures you do, like an epoxy coating or something like that, or full replacement of the slab?
It could be, but for some of those small, say that, there's not much we could do with that, but if it did start to separate a little bit more, we would do a little epoxy filling and coating over it to hopefully give us a couple more years out of it, before, not saying it would be a whole patch replacement, maybe to buy some time where it might be a cutout and actually replacing a section of that.
Yeah, even 4 or 5 foot fence behind that accident. That's.
You know what we have found out though, a low fence doesn't help. It needs to be at least taller than the post and backboard. And then and angled a little bit and covered to keep loose balls toward the court.
I just feel like if there was anything that you could do, depending on I feel like there's like a priority, right? Fence would probably be first, striping, I guarantee you, striping, I think could care less about. Right. In the great scheme.
I think one thing that Gino's expressing is like, we really want to focus first on the quality of the backboard, the rim and the net. Right?
Yeah,
The post should be pretty solid.
Yeah, not ruling out that future possibly need for that fencing. And once again, that could be budget depending and, prioritize accordingly where, we prioritize high being in our setting like this, but we did elevate McMillan for that reason last year and put that in because that actually had a safety aspect to it. Not ruling it out in the future.
Well, with as large as Fox Glen Park is, at some point, in the future, is there going to be a discussion about first replacing these, doing a full-size court?
Maybe, the basketball community is a really hard one for us to get any data on. We have it for our indoor gym spaces with the programming we offer at the city for the youth and for adult basketball, but we don't for like recreational basketball needs, just families, people going to shoot hoops. We don't have that data. That's really hard for us to capture right now. Size wise, Fox Glen's it's a pretty difficult site because that 20 acres was jam packed, developed within that 20 acres. So I haven't looked like back where these half courts and not even real full half courts are located. There's also some sloping going up to the elementary school, so I'm not sure we could even fit the 100 by 50 size court in there.
If you're doing anything to Fox Glen, I believe I emailed you on a Saturday because I was like, oh my God.
It's packed.
I'm like, there's people parking in the ditch. I mean, they're like full out. I had never really seen a real Saturday, but my daughter played soccer over there this year and I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a parking over here.
The community level and regional level parks, and the parking is difficult around all of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was my first experience and I'm sitting here and I'm going, I can't find, I'm on Parks and Rec. And I was like, "Amy, you guys might move the parking over here." And then he's like, no.
Yeah,
Those courts are kind of tucked back in there, I know.
they are, they're hidden back in Fox Glen a little bit too.
I was gonna say, I can't picture that.
I was just gonna say, I've been.
Right adjacent to
many times.
Knowles.
Yeah, they're right on the other side of the fence, the playground for Knowles.
You kind of have to do the serpentine sidewalk.
Mhm. I
And
can
then you
pull
kind
up
of sit
that.
up on a hill, because the smaller of the two I noticed has a bunch of debris on it right now from erosion due to the storms, but.
That's another difficult thing with most parks and definitely with this park, a lot of it's in the floodway.
Yes.
So when it monsoons or snow melts, we're gonna feel it, right? It's just natural.
Yeah.
With that, here's a quick aerial image, so that way for those that aren't familiar with where in the park. They're back here, this fence line right here, that would be the edge, property edge, so to the left on your screen would be, FUSD's
Yeah, you
elementary
can
school.
never see that from the soccer fields.
Mhm.
Even if you went in the body there, you can't even see it from there because the trees are hiding.
Yeah, so I mean, with some tree removal, we might be able to fit a full-size court in there someday. But you know, for some commissioners that have been around a while, we had a long list of priorities, and so it would be a similar exercise like that to figure out how this fits in. You know, it is a community level park meant for the community, so similar to Bushmaster Park, and our other ones would be McPherson Park is also a community level based on size and some of the amenities.
As much as I appreciate this gentleman wanting what he wanted, I think a more pressing issue of Fox Glen. Maybe just based on what you guys hear and see.
Parking's difficult, yes, at our locations where we also have user groups, so athletic user groups for the youth doing their programming, where they've rented the space to do such. And then with just your daily park users in combination with that, parking's difficult everywhere, that quantity.
Is there an impact fee that the renters pay on something like Fox Glen for the impact that they put on the park when they rent it out like that? Do they?
No, go ahead, Haley.
No, so it depends on the type of rental, user groups pay specifically for if you're offering sport, they pay per head. And that's not applied per field, so it's per season, so AYSO summer league, they pay that quantity at a lower rate, purpose of that is to keep the cost of participating in that sport low for community. It's slightly different if a special event were to take place at Foxville Park, they pay higher fee, so they're correctly making profit. But it doesn't go back into the site,
It doesn't go.
it
back.
does not,
Where, I'm sorry, where does that one?
goes to the
General fund.
Oh, well, maybe eventually.
To the
Which
organization.
which we are mostly general funded, so. In a
It-
roundabout
it
way,
Trickle back there.
it does, but it's not a direct, like. They rented Fox Glen Park and it goes into this program that maintains Fox Glen Park, it's not that direct.
Yeah.
A little more socialist, a little less capitalist, got it.
So when
they'd
that,
like to.
when that gentleman came in and was speaking about it, were you saying that you were looking at the issues he was talking about, or refresh my memory about if there was some kind of action that you were considering taking? Or not at this point?
I don't think we really discussed much at that time.
Because we weren't allowed to.
We
Yeah,
couldn't-
that's what we're putting this together, but that was our, even leading up to that, we were already purchasing new backboards and rooms for several of the parks and things like that.
Okay. All right. Good. Does any other commissioners have any other questions in regards to Fox basketball courts at this point? Sure. Heath? Okay, thanks, Gina. Appreciate that. Um, good. We can move on then to item number 9, or Cleo Murdoch Neighborhood Park Construction Status. Saw that on the council agenda a while back.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry, way too many screens open today. So I'll take this item, and this is an older presentation that I have about the park. So this park has the pros team were delivering this neighborhood park. It was previously with our partners in community development. And gosh, I think in April, we were asked if we could step in and work with the contractor. The contractor for the park is Morning Dew Landscaping, and ask if we could assist with just taking over the project delivery on this. It's with community block grant funds. So that is the funding mechanism behind this. And over here on the screen on your left, or the image on your left, that is one of 3 sitting areas that's along East Butler Avenue. The other 2, there's one at San Francisco and one at LaRue. So that sitting area will be encompassed into Cleo Murdoch Neighborhood Park. So it takes the sitting area aspect out of the rotation, which is a desire of both pros, the city holistically, and Flagstaff Police Department, because those 3 sitting areas are a nuisance. And a lot of unwanted behaviors occur at all 3 of them. So the idea for this particular one was, how do we encompass it into the park? And that's why the image on the right with the green shows the whole area surrounding this city building that is leased to the Southside Community Association and operated as Murdoch Center. Brings in then also the sitting area to create the actual neighborhood park itself.
So is Murdoch Center a separate entity? I mean, the people who operate that, they're not with the city. The city does not.
City owns the building and leases it to a group that operates and programs the building.
Okay.
What goes on in that building, just for those of us that are completely cool, I know what this is, but that's not it. What's in there?
I know that what's inside of it physically.
What did they release it to this?
Go ahead, sure.
It's used for like community events, particularly within like the African American community in town. Because it's the historically like segregated school. So they like converted it into, Councilwoman Harris could probably, if she was here, would have talked about it, if she's the director of the Murdoch Center. But yeah, it's like community engagement, like facility. So also like organizations in town can like rent it out and use it. So it's just a good.
There's education pieces that go on. Events, groups, gatherings. I know Boys and Girls Club, a teen program, was using it this summer.
The behaviors that are unwanted around this place, homelessness, is that, or I'm sorry, it's not homeless. I don't know how to be right here, but.
Yeah, so the 3 areas, they're sitting areas, they were developed, I think, sometime in the 1980s, if not early 90s, meant to have like a neat spot to sit with a cup of coffee and chat with somebody. I think that we've all learned that's changed and doesn't occur, and instead there can be an unsheltered population and illegal activities. There's alcohol consumption that occurs. And otherwise, so another thought process is, when we make this a park and not a sitting area, park rules now come into play too. So it would physically be closing at 10 p.m. at night. That could give Flagstaff Police Department a little bit more of an ability. If some unwanted behaviors are occurring, please ask people to move on, kind of thing. Park's closed. We could also work within our city code and city council if we want to identify this as one of the other park locations where alcohol is not permitted. Because then if there is consumption going on, then that's against the city code in the particular location.
Within the park center?
I don't know what they allow with inside, if they're having a special event. I would say no, but I honestly don't know. I think we would need that group to confirm or deny on that. So, you know, some other pieces of this, you can see in the image on the left, there's outdoor chess table. Chess is a large piece to the Cleo Murdoch Park. These are some old items, so some timeline items. It was I took the contract to City Council on May 21st for approval with Morning Dew Landscaping with those block grant funds. Just a little over 344,000. We made sure we were not going to start construction until after a Juneteenth event there on site. So construction did begin in early July. Some of the pieces are some additional concrete chess tables, like in this image, and stools to add on to that outdoor chess piece. Some other items, here's some cleanup of that sitting area. So it's not like that sitting area is it's not being completely demolished. Instead, there was some pruning activities, some ripping up certain things like some juniper shrubs that really help seclude and allow individuals to hide behind. So if you drive by today, this one particular piece, it's been cleaned out. It's much easier line of sight from the roadway from Butler or Brayton, that's on the other side. And really have cleaned up a handful of things. There are a lot of tree pruning has occurred. So that's already occurred. For that piece, the words Cleo, that is a custom bicycle rack that the contractor is currently creating for the park. So kind of a neat piece there. On the right is some masonry drawing, again, following that chess theme. Some additional slides, we'll get to it in a second. It's a storage unit for the park and for the location and for the Murdoch Center, and it's in the shape of a rook, a chess piece, so a custom masonry storage buildings being created, which is really cool to do for the site. Pros as a part of this, it won't have the malachite stone, but we are funding, we did fund the concrete chess tables and stools, and then we'll be doing our park kiosk signage just to kind of finish the entire park look and feel. Because it does then add into our rotation of one of our parks to maintain. So it'll be this newer signage, but again, not with the masonry pillars and base, probably framed in like 4-inch by 4-inch steel tubing to still give that look. But it'll say the Cleo Murdoch Neighborhood Park, and then with the address there. Some additional items then that occur on the property itself that surrounds the city-owned building. So there's some turf space that's all been graded as of today. And I believe we'll start some irrigation this week and then sod coming soon. An accessible walkway, that is this, where's my cursor? An accessible walkway that takes you from the building and then down into the park, because that did not exist. It was a pretty sloped area. Some pavers are being added, some fruit bearing trees with emitters, and then along like a parking area. It used to have it, and the whole thing had a chain link fence put up, so that's gone. Some maple trees, and then there's a pollinator garden there in the corner just adjacent to where this white car is parked that a Girl Scout troop put in. So now we're able to connect that kind of homegrown pollinator garden into the irrigation system. What's not included that is on this image would be this red rectangle with the brown gravel. That's a part of a future, because this location's been identified as a future resilience hub with our sustainability office and some other partners at the city. So that piece is not occurring with this phase, even though it's on this image here. So it's really everything from on the south, or I guess it'd really be the north side of this building going down. Some other features that will occur are some cleanup. There's some river rock here in this like kind of natural drainage area, because Butler sits up a little bit higher as it comes down. So refreshing that. And, again, just working within the space, and I do know that the, Southside Community Association is excited to get this thing open. And we wanna do maybe some kind of cool ribbon cutting and just be able to say like, all right, now we've got this new park. It does add into our parks team's rotation then for mowing of the sod, of the turf. Once that's installed and established, blowing off walkways, that typical maintenance that, the parks team does do, plus pruning of the trees, shrubs and everything.
Is there lighting up there? I can't remember.
There's pedestrian lighting, I believe it's 4 pedestrian lights. Those remain. Great question. They do remain there. Those were redone by community development maybe about a year and a half ago. So those were replaced. So those are there. There will also be power to that masonry storage shed. That way that can be accessible at night and, yeah, I think it'll be really neat. I do know the community's excited about this.
Maybe does it go to the sidewalk line where those houses are? That's where the park extends to now, or it will extend to where that sidewalk that's.
Over here on the left?
Mhm.
Yes, so, another thing that's not drawn on this image is, and Gino and I are currently working through it. I wanna get up there and point on the TV, but not a good idea for the virtual world. We're working on figuring out with a 2-rail foots railing, which, the parks team did at the Bushmaster Skate Park about 6 months ago, if the commissioners recall, where we can use that from like the edge of the current building, pull it down, bring it down Butler, bring it through down this north side of the park and really say this is the park facing East Brandon, because there is a public walkway that takes you from East Brandon to Butler. And that's what Kyle was referencing here on the screen. It's all in gray, but it's right here, it's right. That's not a part of the park. That's just the public walkway that gets you from one road to another. So we're looking at ways on how can we enclose the park and have it face Brandon and really be a neighborhood park.
That's what my question was gonna be, is there gonna be some kind of access control given the current of off or not desirable activities going on, especially in that.
I think the elimination of the bushes is gonna be the most helpful.
It's already helped, I believe. Yeah.
Never, I mean, just from walking or driving by there, that's where I've seen a lot of people stumble and fall into.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so I just wanted to bring this project up to the commissioners because it wasn't previously a project for pros to deliver, but we knew it would become one of our parks to maintain. So just wanted to bring that up. I hope that we are done in wrapping up this project. I have a feeling we'll be doing that 2-rail foots type railing probably this fall, maybe in October. Let the contractor finish their piece of it and then we can do that and obviously have the park kiosk sign installed too.
What's a resilience center? Did I hear you say that? Like this has been identified as a resilience center.
A resilience hub.
Resilience hub. what is
Yes.
that?
Yeah, I think that'll be best answered by others. My understanding is that it's an identified location for those to go to, whether if it's a cooling location or in the colder months, a warming center, an open center, if you will, for individuals to go based on whatever's occurring in the climate outside. And I think it also will have, additional solar panels. There's some, as you can see, on top of this rooftop. And I believe some others, including battery storage, if I'm not mistaken with it.
I think there's improvements to the building to help it be able to be those centers in times of emergency. I also think it's a place where people can go to get supplies that might be needed, whether it's like hygiene supplies, perhaps food supply. It's a place that people can go to become more resilient to climate change.
Yeah.
How involved was like the South Side community or even the you know, the Native African American community in like weighing in.
In the development of this. I think they've been heavily involved. There's been a lot of meetings held with the Southside Community Association on site before bringing this forward, including even with the application process to apply for those block grant funds and receive them to do this project. So very well aware and very interested. And then in the future, I know that it's a location that's been identified for an additional piece of art with Corey and Jana from Beautification Arts and Sciences that were on earlier. And they've also been working with the Southside Community Association to identify what that piece of art resembles and where it'll go in the park.
I'm assume that sort of preservation commission also with their monuments for.
On the park itself,
No, well, the property is historic, but
right, but the
I don't-
park would
yeah.
not be,
that's true.
yeah, the surroundings would not be,
Okay.
yeah.
Would the law enforcement aspect of it be like the parks officer that was here? Or, cause it does like, I understand it's like complicated, but it feels like, yes, there might have been illicit activity, but it's still like removing a space for people that were there. And then like bringing more law enforcement into an area that, like, it seems like.
There's two things fighting each other on this. and
Yeah.
I feel bad for both sides.
But I'm just, yeah, I just want to like put that out there, but is it like the parks? Like, what was it? The park ranger?
Or park ranger?
Yeah, park ranger.
They are
Like-
not, they do not enforce or cite individuals, the park ranger for city of Flagstaff.
Okay,
Police department,
okay, so
Would
FPD would be doing
yes.
all of the. Okay, Yeah.
yeah, it's still in the public park.
yeah, okay,
So within park, so the park rules would need to be followed by any individual.
sure. I just, yeah. You know, just the
Yeah.
complications of policing and
Yes,
homelessness and,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I think I see what you're saying, Commissioner Kirk, because it's kind of a juxtaposition, right? Putting more rules on it, but it's also a place, it's a resilient, that's why I wanted Brazilian.
with the resilient hub,
I
yeah.
was like, man, that's gonna be, a hard thing to manage.
Those other two, seated areas will probably be more crowded for a little while.
Yeah.
Right across the street.
Yeah.
Would be my
And we
guess.
have plans for improving those.
Yeah.
Well, but that's another agenda.
Yeah. See, that was the Cleo Murdoch part.
Congratulations on the new park.
Yeah. Does anybody have any further questions or comments regarding this?
When you do get to a park like that, do you get extra budget because you have more park?
No, we do not, unfortunately. No, I think, no, but a great question, because we also have the future West Side Park, another neighborhood level park that will be adding into our maintenance, yet not increasing our maintenance as far as full-time employment that it takes to maintain XYZ amount of acres. The team going around, grabbing the trash, grabbing litter, cleaning ramadas, getting those prepared, mowing, all of it.
So how do you guys account for that? And I know that's not on topic and I'm getting off topic, but I'm just curious, how do you add capacity?
At some point in time, we'll have to have that conversation. These are our first parks to add to our system since 2003.
Maybe
So we haven't had the conversation, right?
Yeah, maybe we could defer that to item 11, the tax review.
Right. Eventually, though, it will need to be discussed and not in arrears.
And frankly, that's a conversation that we're having citywide. It's the same thing when you add streets. There's no new funding going to maintain streets. Same thing when we add foots, there's no new funding going to maintain foots. So the city is very well aware of that conversation needing to happen on a broad scale.
Like I said, I just asked, so it's on records, if somebody carried that.
Good question. Okay, well, if we're
I'll
done with
make sure to
that.
get that in the record.
Yeah. we're done with that. Thanks for all your questions. And we can move on to item number 10 in the agenda, which is fiscal year 2024-2025 capital projects.
So I just wanted to bring this back up. I'm gonna try to increase that in size. We are looking here between these two vertical bold lines. Sorry, I hope that's large enough for our folks on in the virtual world. So it's just a reminder of those capital projects that are in this fiscal year for pros. So the first line item there would be the $200,000. That's our $200,000 ongoing fund balance, because you see it extended out across those additional years. That is where we're have labeled as deferred maintenance / projects, and we use that division wide, so in parks, recreation, open space, and events. And that is at staff discretion and conversations and pros leadership on how we utilize those funds. Every year going out is $150,000 for a playground structure replacement. Working through the Parks and Rec Commission 2 years ago, we created that. That was a high priority for the commission to begin to figure out how do we have a even and structured way to start to replace these aging playground structures. So that's what that 150,000 is. Right now, the parks team is doing the Ponderosa Trails playground replacement. That's occurring right now with the contractor on full demo install of the new structure. For this fiscal year, the locations that were identified by the parks team, and that's with our certified playground inspector group and parks leadership, is Smoke Rise and Mobile Haven, both the 2 to 5 year range playground structures. So we believe we can get both of those done within this $150,000 balance. And then again, we put a prioritization internal one together based on aging components of the playground structures, obsolete pieces to them. So that way we could create a strategic plan in utilizing the 150 per year.
Is there a lifespan on play structures you kind of are pinpointing?
There are, I mean, I think the average from any manufacturer would probably tell you 20 to 25. We have plenty of them beyond 25, which goes toward a team being effective in how they maintain it, plus find obsolete parts, or when we are taking down an older playground structure, saving some of those essential parts and pieces if we know we can reuse them elsewhere if they're viable too. But I do think that is honestly the maximum. I don't think any municipality should go beyond that or anyone
I think
inspecting
OSHA
them.
standards probably change more often than that, so the safety of whatever you're playing on has to be safer than it was 25 years ago.
I would hope. You never know. And the other items on this capital list is still the Ponderosa Park reconstruction. So that was a part of kind of that ground zero, just that's the park north of Kilp Elementary that was impacted by the museum fire flooding. And so we're still working through that reconstruction. There's really not much to reconstruct until the entire suite of stormwater improvements are done.
What are those scheduled?
I think the last, yeah, and so we're leaning heavily on that engineering team and that capital team to deliver those, and as we'll be ready to hopefully jump in there when the time is appropriate, including even going out to the neighborhood to find out what does the neighborhood want in their newly designed neighborhood park. So there's that line item. One of these items that was also a top 5 on our list from the prioritization exercise was adding HVAC in the gymnasium at Hal Jensen Rec Center. The other features within the building has AC, but not that space. And I was literally in there for 2 Fridays ago with one of our deputy city managers, and it was late afternoon and probably 75 kids in there shooting hoops, and it was hot in there. Yeah, so that's gonna be
smelly too. I can imagine.
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of stank. So I think that would be an excellent improvement that the commission should be excited about with that happening. And then there's $200,000 allocated for continued mitigation and other efforts toward, it's listed as Thorpe Park Annex. That is the former public works yard that's within Thorpe Park, where the future Indigenous Community and Cultural Center is located as well. And then there's the sport court still at Bushmaster Park. And then there's also Westside Park. And that's our BBB recreation capital, so our larger capital items. There's operating capital with different level scope within both parks and recreation that those teams are working on, some smaller projects. Just a reminder what we got coming up.
What are I don't want to call it Thorpe Park Annex anymore. I think we've tried to.
Thorpe Park.
Just Thorpe Park, but that 200,000,
Mhm.
the remediation portion of that. What items is that covering? Are you looking at like the building itself and that, or is it overall site? I mean, what kind of issues are included in the remediation?
It hasn't been fully programmed yet. So last fiscal year was 100,000. A little over 21,000 was spent on taking down the perimeter fence. There's about 30 some odd thousand that will be spent on relocating the IT infrastructure that comes from City Hall, goes to the future ICCC, spits off there to sustainability offices, and then all the way over to the park shop and the concourse for the softball fields. We're needing to remove that and redo that.
So it's just a fund that's sitting there, it sounds like, as you identify.
As we continue to scope out the project and identify things that need to be done on site. There was also a facility assessment performed on the actual future Indigenous Community Cultural Center to give us a little bit of a guidebook on how to create, or both RSOQ, so a request for a statement of qualifications for a group or groups or a partner to be a partner at the table and run the future Indigenous Community Cultural Center, and hopefully be a design partner or an invested partner or interested partner. And then we'll need to do a request for proposal and RFP to actually find that invested partner to make the improvements that are needed at that building. 200,000 is not gonna make a dent in what's needed in that building. It's basically for walls and a roof.
Right.
Yeah. And a concrete slab. So not sure, attend the Indigenous Commission frequently and talk about that with the Indigenous commissioners and their city staff liaison on how best should we utilize this 200,000. I think it'd be ideal to have that interested partner on board. So that way, in conjunction with city staff, we determine how to use that $200,000.
Because at the end of the day, you'll treat that similar to the Burdock Center, correct? Where the city owns the building, but they'll lease it out.
Correct. Cool. That is that item.
What happened to the Heritage Square restaurant?
Oh, I'm sorry, I glazed over that. That's on there too. Sorry, that 250,000 is still there too. So we didn't expend any of that last fiscal year. So it's a carry forward into this fiscal year. You know, I'm talking with one of the original architecture group of the Hopi Trust building, just to see, because I don't have a plan set of what the interior finishes look like on that building. Is there a way to bring me back restrooms inward and that you would access from inside the building? Does that change some of the behaviors there in addition to a remodel? both, I think the downtown business owners and the Downtown Business Alliance do not want the Portland Loo at Heritage Square. That's okay, that's fine. It doesn't take away the $250,000. So trying to just think of what else can we do? Because I think just a remodel of those two existing restrooms still with entry off an alley isn't gonna solve the problems that we discussed here, and how this became a priority for the
What
commission.
does the Downtown Business Alliance want? I mean, have they said, we want you to do this? Or
They have not, no. I don't know if it's, talking about bringing the restrooms inward and with a concierge service, not like the key on the rope, but something else. Does it have, do the restrooms have reduced or different hours than what they currently have? Because they would have an interior access versus exterior off an alley. There's a lot of what ifs to discuss with that.
Not an easy one to fix there.
Yeah.
Good. Anything more in regards to our 2024-2025 capital projects, commissioners? Good. Very good. Thanks, Amy. Appreciate that. And on to the big one, BBB tax renewal.
Okay, I'm gonna take this one. You get to hear a little bit from all of us today.
Let's remember those two words, please. And share, it started to share. Do you want me to try to share? You appear to still be in the meeting. One more time. I think I'm a full screen. And it kicks me out when I go to full screen, so we're just not gonna do full screen. We, look at that. Okay. We're just gonna roll. You guys can see that, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so and Amy, if you could take notes, that'd be great. As you're aware, hopefully, we are on the ballot this November for renewing the BBB tax. The BBB tax is the bed, board, and beverage tax. It's a 2% tax on hotels, motels, campgrounds, bar and restaurant, and short-term rentals. So it is mostly paid for by visitors, more than 50%. And it funds a lot of activities or programs that improve the quality of life for Flagstaff residents, such as what Amy just showed you was the BBB Recreation 5-year plan. That's our portion of the tax that comes to pros. It also funds economic development, beautification, arts and sciences. So you heard from that team earlier today. tourism, which we need to bring here in order to pay the tax, which then pays for what we do. So it's a great kind of cyclical program. The tax rate is set to expire in 2028, which is why we are going for renewal in 2024. In case it doesn't pass, we can go again in 2026. We're only able to ask these types of ballot questions every 2 years on the November ballot. So we put together with our friends and, oh, it makes me so mad I can't make this straight. Hang on, I'm just gonna try that. We're gonna roll around here a little bit. So we put together an educational campaign. You'll see coming out, and maybe you've seen some already. This will be in the local newspaper, in Flagstaff Business News, on different outlets like that. Our economic vitality team has put together these great informational brochures. And I just want to go through a few of the elements of these so that you understand. So first of all, they're numbered, and I think there's 25 of these total. So it lets the reader know that this is a series of information that they're going to see. It has this informational box to the left here about did you know, it's so that they understand how the tax is collected and who it's collected from. It has a QR code so that they can scan and get to this website that we put together. If you want to go look at it now, it's a pretty beautiful site. It's bbbrenewalflagstaff.com. There's lots of information there about all of our programs. And then this is kind of what it looks like when it's all put together. And so this middle section here lets the reader know specifically how the BBB tax benefits them. So in this case, we're talking about trails for running, hiking, and walking. It gives specific information like 60 miles of trails. And then this part of the box here is going to be the same in every ad. It relates to every ad. So, and we're trying to make the point that some of the things you care about most in Flagstaff are paid for with this tax. So here are some more examples for recreation. We're showing off our playgrounds, like what Amy was just talking about. We talk about the J. Lively Activity Center. We've got great pictures here in all of them. Some are real life, some are stock images, but relatable. Other campaign examples include protecting the natural environment. This is some of the tourism messages that are out there. Please be fire aware. I'm saying a lot, I'm sorry. We talk about culture and heritage, which is funded through many of our nonprofits that benefit from this tax, also related to tourism messaging. We've got links here to watch a video, which is actually, I've seen that video, it's quite beautiful. More tourism examples with their ad campaigns, Wipe the Smile on Your Face, as grand as it gets in partnership with the state. This goes to some of the, and you'll also notice these are color coded. So tourism was purple, recreation was more gold, economic vitality or economic development here is orange. And you'll notice this new logo up here. I neglected to mention that in the upper left that has each of the areas that are funded by the BBB listed there. And it's actually a really cool logo. We can take it and just focus on just parks and recreation if we want to, and keep the color scheme just for that when we have different kinds of messaging. So economic development has chooseflagstaff.com. There are a lot of business incentives there available to local businesses. This gets into the beautification, arts and sciences examples about the work that they do. So the plan is for these ads to be in print in local media. Again, this is focused on our locals here, which is a little different than what our tourism group usually is used to trying to outreach to. But so you'll see the print ads that I mentioned, social posts on social media platforms, digital ads, emails, Harkins, mountain line bus ads, NAU, business cards, and more. We have put that logo on our signature for our emails. It's a clickable logo, so you can go from there to the website. Just really trying to get the word out. Again, go to this website for more information about what the tax funds fund in the city. I think that's it for my presentation.
So my question is, do you guys have, or this, what prop is it, or?
Yeah, there are 3 local ballot questions this year. I want to say ours is 486 or something, but there's only 3 local ones. The other 2 are Mountain Line is asking for a renewal and an increase in the transit tax. The city council also voted to put that one on the ballot, and Coconino County is asking for an increase in their expenditure limit. So those are the 3 local ballot initiatives this year.
Is this the only one that is paid for by people that go and visit Bed Bath and?
Yeah,
You know what I mean, I forget.
Bed Bath and Beyond. Coconino County is not asking for any money. It's just increasing the legally designated expenditure limit that they can spend, the money that they already have. The BBB tax renewal is paid mostly, as you saw on there. I thought I stopped sharing. By visitors.
Yeah.
And the transit tax is paid, I think that's a local sales tax.
That's cool, okay. And then on the, I don't know all these terms, the thing that they mail you that you get to read through all the different opinions.
Yeah, the publicity pamphlet, we worked on that as a team. That will be.
Way in, because can't you commission?
So through August 7th, they were still accepting arguments for and against. We got a few people. I know Economic Vitality reached out to a few people. I don't feel comfortable like emailing you all and asking you to do that for us. So I was hoping that you were paying attention, but just understand city staff and city funding cannot advocate for a position. We can only educate. So that's why these educational or informational flyers are really focused on just educating about what the tax pays for and how it's used.
Why Why did they not propose raising the BBB tax? Or did they, and they just decided it would be best not to?
Well, I think it was a discussion point, but honestly, it's bringing in a good amount of revenue. The BBB Recreation Fund, as an example, is very robust. And they're doing an excellent job of bringing in visitors that are paying this tax. And we've even got money available this year to start setting aside for open space. So one of the things that we went through this spring and early summer was looking with council to update our city codes so that open space is included in the definition of BBB recreation, so that we can spend money. And I talked with you guys about that before, so that did pass. And we're able to carve out a minimum of $400,000 ongoing every year is available for them to program, just like you guys did several years ago. So it's very robust. I think we are going to need to review our estimates on the projects that Amy just went over with you, the ones coming up. We'll probably need to increase those, which will take some of that ongoing capacity. But from what I understand, the way that revenue estimates are coming in is doing very, very well. In my opinion, there's no need to increase it. And honestly, we're just hopeful that the local taxpayers have agreed to just continue it. We didn't want to ask for more and get too big for our bridges.
Is there a way to track how many people go to that website or anything like that?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they can
To just see
track
what
all of those metrics.
the viewership is to kind of garner how much interest there is in
I'm sure if I asked Heidi's team, Heidi Hansen is the economic vitality director, and they're very good at drilling into those types of numbers. So I have had some questions from commissioners about whether you can advocate. You all can, as long as you're not acting as a commissioner when you're doing so. So you can go out and advocate with your friends and family and people that you want to annoy. Just make sure that you say, like, I am a commissioner, but I'm not representing the commission right now, or my role as a commissioner.
Yeah.
And if you have questions about that, I'd be happy to talk with you. Help spread the word.
I think it's not a hard sell, especially with the taxes and raising. Seems like pretty easy.
Well, it should be, but everybody's always concerned about the cost of living here, so.
Yeah, and that is our concern. We're hearing some folks are confused about the BBB tax versus the cost of minimum wage, and those businesses that happen to be in those same industries that might be adding a fee onto their bills, and they think that that's the BBB and they want it to stop. So we're trying to get the word out that that has nothing, and you'll see that in the publicity pamphlet. That add-on fee that some restaurants, for example, might add on has nothing to do with the BBB tax. That's embedded in the local sales tax.
Good. Well, thank you.
If we, I'll ask.
All right, no other questions?
It's proposition 487.
Good. Into our time here, so we'll move on and go to reports, monthly highlights of parks, recreation, open space, and events. The July monthly newsletter. That's where you can see, touch a truck and all that.
Right.
There were some cool trucks out there.
I do want to, before you move on from that, I want to give a shout out to our colleague and coworker, Sarah Holditch, who is on Haley's team. She has kind of taken it upon herself with our support to revamp our monthly report, and we're getting a lot of great feedback. I think it looks incredible. So
Yeah.
if you notice some changes, that's all her. It's been great.
No, it's looking awesome, so really appreciate that. If you guys don't look at it, you should have some good information in there about the concert series, so on and so forth, so. Really good stuff, appreciate it. We don't have council member Harris on board, so we'll skip over the liaison report and move on to number 14, information items to and from commissioners and staff.
Like a friends thing for county here? Yeah. If you want to volunteer for Friends of Coconino County for the fair, we'll buy your fair ticket. All you have to do is do a couple hours of selling some of the fair merchandise. So, yeah, anybody that's interested, they just email me and I'll give you what it is.
Then we heard earlier that Commissioner Heath, you're not going to re-up your membership. This may be your last meeting.
That's true. I think unfortunately it's been wonderful being able to serve, but some family coordinating has made it tough to continue.
Well, thank you for.
Commissioner Heath, the expiration date was in a couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago. Same with Commissioner Stackhouse. So Commissioner Heath is unable to renew. Commissioner Stackhouse, you said you could. We will need to have the paperwork filled out for the renewal of your term.
Happy to do it.
Okay, thank you.
I needed to do.
Yeah. And then there is still the one vacancy from Commissioner Smith's resignation. So I do know that our city clerk is wanting to gather all of that. So we'll need the renewal paperwork for Commissioner Stackhouse, and then with Commissioner Heath's need to not renew. I believe there's some applications that the city clerk has that they'll be reviewing and trying to package kind of all at once for city council for those appointments to do all three of
Is
those.
there a minimum number that they're looking for?
Well, we have
Yeah.
one vacancy, and then Commissioner Heath's non-renewal, and then it'll be Commissioner Stackhouse's renewal.
Yeah.
So all kind of two vacancies.
Yeah.
For minimum number of applications, so they'll take it to council after they have one more application than the amount of vacancies, including renewals.
Yeah,
which we do have.
we have, yeah.
Okay, great.
But Commissioner Heath can continue. I'm not what was the date that the clerk's office was saying?
Want to say it was August 9th, as far as when it's terminated.
No, like when they're gonna take
Oh,
it
when
to
they'll
council
take
for
it to
appointment.
council.
Commissioner Heath can continue until her place is reappointed, which we might need for quorum in September.
Right, yep, let me check and see on that, on what was ideal for our city clerk.
Because when does the commission or the council come back in session?
They're
come on.
in session this week.
Yeah.
They had a quick meeting, a special meeting today, and they're back on Monday.
Let's see, I think there was,
That form that you're wanting, it's just the online fill out the form thing. Good.
yeah.
It's just the application.
I think the city clerk was hoping to take and seek the appointments on September 17th. which, if I'm not mistaken, would be the day after our next commission meeting would be September 16th. So we'll see if we'll try to reach out sooner than normal regarding quorum for that September 16th Parks and Rec Commission meeting, since these new appointments will not have occurred just yet, and see how every commissioner's schedule is looking for that date.
Good. Anyone else have any information items they'd like to add? Nothing exciting. Okay, well, very good. We can get to agenda items for the next meeting. Has any ideas about that? Please feel free to spout them out.
One thing that was intended for July and we just didn't have room on this August agenda was, I know the commissioners wanted to hear about the J Lively Ice Rink monthly maintenance closure and all of the tasks that group went through in the month of May, since it was the first time in over 10 years the ice had been taken down.
Oh, yeah.
Do we still want that supervisor to come in and kind of give a summary of what that
Can you
monthly?
remind us why we wanted that?
I'm guessing just for informational only, or just to know what occurred. A month is not a typical amount of time to close a recreation center, but we needed to because of the tasks entailed.
Just maybe a general overall about J Live. What's going on?
Okay.
It's kind of fun to hear about the recreation side of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know, with Kyle now being on board as the big guy here, if he wants to give us an update on how his job's going and then what programs, if anything, or anything he's planning on doing differently than the past, or
Right.
I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I'm happy to put whatever on the agenda. By September, we'll have Ponderosa Trails Playground project done. If we want to see like images of it, of a new playground structure. Maybe.
We have something for open space.
We do have an item for open space.
Is that the trail plan?
I believe so. Observatory Mesa Trail Plan.
Dealer's choice, whatever you'd like to tell us, we'd like to talk about here.
We're all ears.
You brought up this idea of like, if a park is added, is there more money now? Because then the answer is no. But like, I know we've had conversations about rates. And like the process of city council, like, is there anything happening with city council
With the
looking to raise rates? Like with that rate study, maybe we already talked about that, and it's been a while, I'm getting the years
Right.
mixed in my head, I don't remember, but.
Well, I don't think we won't have any news on anything regarding rates for September. So we did as a commission review current rates. And I do know that city staff are speaking at the city leadership level about how do we bring in and enfold in all of these needed rate studies to be performed. So there's a handful of them.
Yeah, because I think I remember like Councilman Salas talking about it, so I was like, I know it was a while ago, and I was just curious.
Yeah, they're working on some documents, but they're not ready for us to bring forward yet.
Yeah.
Excited to hear about that.
Is there anything going on with the general plan? I mean, is that
A master plan.
the new master plan?
So we're funded for it, but no, we have not started. That would be, I would assume, a statement of qualifications as far as the bid process to get out there for a firm to respond to. I think the open space observatory and Mesa trail plan was maybe a 30-minute, I believe, duration. Yeah, the J Lively kind of maintenance closure and kind of what occurred, what we learned, that could probably be 15 minutes. Ponderosa Playground, just project complete, a few minutes, and then might be something else may surface too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Maybe we'll have an update on the site part, public outreach by that point,
We may have some, yeah,
or at least the process there.
yeah.
Anything else? Move to adjournment. And thank you, everybody, for attending. Appreciate everybody's input today.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Oh, I was afraid you won't go that forward.
I couldn't get the lady on the phone, and then I couldn't find the email.